Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. And today we are going to learn about one of the kind of past tense. And in this series, we are going to discuss about past perfect tense. So let's get started. In past perfect tense today, we are going to learn about the definition of past perfect tense, its rules and examples, its sentence structure and its examples, uses of past perfect tense, and its pseudo translation. Now, first, see the definition of past perfect tense. The past perfect tense is used to show that something happened before another action in the past. It can also be used to show that something happened before a specific time in the past. Let's take some examples. Sana had finished her homework before she watched television. Here are some more examples we are going to discuss. The team had finished practice before 10. She had never visited Africa before her trip in 2009. Did the students go home after they had visited the library? Now let's see how past perfect tense is formed. So, past perfect tense is formed when one event happened before another event. And this is how, if we are talking about the sentence, so let's take an example like in this number one example, you have seen that someone broke into a house. So, this is the first event, and the second event, we arrived home. So, whenever we are constructing the sentence of past perfect tense, so we basically use clause, as I have told you that a clause is a part of a sentence, and in past perfect tense we also use clause. So here are basically two clauses in one sentence. It means to say we discovered that someone had broken into our house. And here we use the past perfect to show that the first event finished before the second event happened. So this is the first event that is finished, that someone broke into our house. Then when we arrived home, means to say someone had broken into our house before we arrived home. So this is how we form the sentence of past perfect tense. And I hope you all understand well. Now let's move on and let that how and what is the sentence structure of past perfect tense. So past perfect tense, as I have already told you, that it is formed when one event happened and when it is finished and then the second event happened. And how and what is the sentence structure, and we always use the auxiliary verb had, and in addition we use past participle, means to say the third form of verb. Again, I have shown you here in this chart that in the past, because obviously we are discussing here about the past perfect tense, so it means to say any event or events happened in the past. So when the first event is completed, means to say when any first activity completed, then there is another activity completed, and they both the activities have completed in the past or had completed in the past. So remember and keep in mind that in past perfect tense we use the auxiliary verb had along with the third form of verb, and we also call it past participle. I hope you all understand very well. And let's how to form past perfect tense in detail. So what are the rules? To form the past perfect tense, you use the past tense of the verb to have, which is had, and it to the past participle of the main verb. For example, we use our subject. If we talk about sentence structure, then we have our subject and along with auxiliary verb had, means the past participle, and this is how we form, and this is how the sentence structure of past perfect tense. And now let's discuss about some examples of the past perfect tense. And for example, had met. She had met him before the party. Had left. The plane had left by the time I got to the airport. Had written. I had written the email before he apologized. In all these sentences, you have noticed that past perfect tense is formed, as I have told you before, that it has two clauses in one sentence, like she had met him before the party, the plane had left by the time I got to the airport. I had written the email before he apologized. Now the time expressions in the past perfect simple. As I have already told you that the past perfect sentence has two clauses, and in one clause basically it is past perfect simple, and how the sentence is structured we have discussed that we use had, the auxiliary verb, and along with the third form of verb. So it is in the case of the first clause, but if we are talking about second clause, the second clause is mostly the simple past tense. So this is how we form past perfect tense. And the time expressions like already, for, since, and yet may be used in the past perfect simple as they are in the present perfect simple. And remember the following rules for using other time expressions. There are some other time expressions like use after, as soon as, the moment that, until, before. We also using the past perfect simple. And here let's take an example. After she had moved out, I found her notes. In this sentence, I'm using a laser pointer here to explain you that after she had moved out, I found her notes. In both these sentences, we have used two clauses. In the first clause, we use the time expression along with had and the third form of verb. But in the second clause, as I have told you, that we also use simple past tense. So remember and keep in mind when we are constructing the sentence of past perfect tense, it has two clauses, and in one clause we have used the means the past perfect tense, the third form of verb, along with auxiliary verb had. But in second clause we always use simple past tense. Now let's take another example. I didn't say anything until she had finished talking. So in this case, you also have seen that we use simple past tense here in the first clause, and after that, until she had finished talking, we use the past perfect tense, means the third form of verb, along with the means the auxiliary verb had. Okay, use before, when, by the time, before the past simple. Okay, when we are constructing the sentence of past perfect tense, so whenever we use before and when or by the time, so we have to use before the past simple. Like in this case, before I knew it, she had run out the door. Means to say, in this clause, we have to use before in past simple, and in the second clause, we simply use the past perfect, like she had run out the door. And like by the time he phoned her, she had found someone new. Again, we use by the time before our past simple, and then the sentence follows the past perfect tense that she had found someone new. I hope you all understand this very well, and let's move on. So past perfect is often used with time clauses. As we have already discussed it, now again I'm going to tell you that time clauses have two clauses, which are main clause and time clause. Time clause is the clause beginning with time words like when, after, before, by the time. The clause or the event which happened before is expressed with past perfect tense. So this is how we basically use perfect tense and the time clauses, because obviously, as I have told you, that it has two clauses, and Obviously, when we are talking about time, we have to use the words like when, after, before, by the time. And the clause or the event which happened before is expressed with past perfect tense. Remember, let's take an example. I went there after I had completed the task. By the time we came, she had finished the project. Until Linda went to England, he had never spoken English. So, this is how we use time clauses in the sentence of past perfect tense. Now let's see the sentence structure again. In past perfect tense, we always use auxiliary verb had along with past participle. And let's talk about when do we use past perfect tense. The past perfect takes place before another past action. And here is an example. I noticed that he had left his books behind. And obviously, we use past perfect tense before means to say the past perfect takes place before another past action, and both this event happened in the past. Remember and keep in mind. Now, using past perfect tense, and there are several situations where the past perfect tense can be used. It is appropriate to use in the following ways to show that an action happened before something else in the past. Let's take some examples. She stayed up all night because she had received bad news. They lost many of the games because they had not practiced enough. Anthony had met Ryan before you introduced him to us at the party. So, this is how we are using past perfect tense in several situations, you can say so. And why we use it? Because to show that an action happened before something else in the past. Okay, using past perfect tense to show that an action happened before a specific time in the past means to say she had established her company before 2008. He had never played football until last week. They had gotten engaged before last year. I had fallen asleep before 8 o'clock. Keep in mind that past perfect tense makes it clear that one thing happened before another in the past. The order of events does not matter since the tense make it clear which event happened first. So this is you need to remember. Okay, here are uses of past perfect tense, more sentences, and another use of past perfect tense includes reported speech. Example of this use include means when we are talking about direct and indirect, we also use past perfect tense, and how we use it in the reported speech when we are forming an indirect sentences like the teacher asked if we had studied for the exam. In the second example, the man asked if we had purchased our tickets. In the third example, my neighbor asked if we had seen her dog. So, this is how we use past perfect tense in different situations. We have discussed this now. And past perfect tense can also be used to show dissatisfaction with the past. And how we use it, let's see some sentence example. We finished, we had purchased the winning ticket. We wish sorry. I wished I had told the truth. She wished she had seen her friend. So anything which we wished in the past, we also used past perfect tense. Past perfect tense can also be used with the word just. When combined, this makes it clear that the event was only a short time prior. Some examples of this include she had just left the scene when the ambulance arrived. He had just put the dog on the leash when we got there. The bus had just left when we got to the stop. So this is how we are using past perfect tense in several situations. Okay, this is how now we are going to talk about the sentence structure of past perfect tense. So, whenever we are constructing the positive or affirmative sentence of past perfect tense, so we always use our subject, then we use had, the auxiliary verb, helping verb, and after that followed by the third form of verb. And let's take an example. The players had lost heart before the match finished. When we are constructing a negative sentence of past perfect tense, so we use our subject, after that we use helping verb had along with not, followed by the third form of verb. Let's take an example. The players had not lost heart before the match finished. And whenever we are constructing a question sentence, so always remember and keep in mind that we use our auxiliary verb in the beginning of the sentence before our subject, and then we use subject followed by the third form of verb, and we put question mark in the end of the sentence. Now let's take an example. Had the players lost heart before the match finished? So this is the sentence structure of past perfect tense, and the positive sentence, the negative sentence, and the interrogative sentence, and how we means construct the sentence. Okay, the structure of past perfect tense positive form. Again, we are going to discuss here that we have our subject, had, then the third form of verb. And here is an example. I went there after I had completed the task. She had come late to the school. Until he went to England, he had never spoken English. Now, negative sentence structure of past tense, we use subject, we use auxiliary verb had along with not, and the third form of verb, which is our main verb. And let's take some sentence examples. I had not completed the task. She had not come late to the school. Until he went to England, he had not spoken English. You had not studied hard. Now, the sentence structure of past perfect tense question form, we always use had in the beginning, as I have told you before, then our subject, then the third form of verb, which is our main form of verb, along with the question mark. Now, let's take some sentence examples. Had you completed the task? Had she come late to the school? Had he spoken English until he went to England? Had she done her homework? So, this is how we construct the sentence of past perfect tense in the positive sentence, the negative sentence, and the interrogative sentence. Now let's talk about the how we will means form past perfect tense from Urdu to English, and I'm going to read it out the first sentence, which is in positive form. जलजले से पहले आंधी ने छतें उड़ाई थीं. And how we will convert it into English, and how we will form the sentence or translate the sentence into past perfect tense. The windstorms had flown the roofs away before earthquake. जलजले से पहले आंधी ने छतें नहीं उड़ाई थीं. And this is the negative sentence, and how we will translate it into English. The windstorms had not flown the roofs away before earthquake. क्या ज़लज़ले से पहले आंधी ने छतें उड़ाई थीं? Had the windstorm flown the roofs away before earthquake? क्या ज़लज़ले से पहले आंधी ने छतें नहीं उड़ाई थीं? Had the windstorm not flown the roofs away before earthquake? So this is how we will translate past perfect tense from Urdu to English. I hope you understand past perfect tense very well, and thank you for watching and have a good day.